Hello, book lovers, and thanks for listening. I post new chapters every week. If you like my work, please remember to like and subscribe to help me build my channel. The Stillwater Girls by Minka Kent. Narrated by Jennifer Schafer. Chapter 44. Nicolette. Brant slides his phone into his pocket.
That was Beth. Remember that survivalist guy she hired?
Yes.
He's on his way over. Guess he just touched base with her an hour ago and he's in the area, so he wants to stop by and go over his findings face to face.
I clean up what's left of our supper dishes and wipe down the counters. Wren's in the next room, nose buried in her 10th book this week, and Sage is in town spending time with her family. It's been 5 days since they reunited. They've been picking her up around 8 every morning and bringing her home just past dinner time. Though, as she grows more comfortable with them, she might start staying overnight at her grandparents'. For now, our house is still her landing pad, a safe, familiar place for her to recuperate from all that has happened. As exciting and chaotic as this time is for her, Dr. Pettigrew says having Wren to come home to is paramount to her successful transition. When's he going to be here? I ask. Brant glances out the window by the table.
Now.
Smoothing my hands down my sides, I clear my throat and head to the door. Brant follows.
You must be Chuck,
My husband says when he answers. The man standing on the other side is large, bearish almost, his face razor-nicked and his hair shower-damp. The scent of hotel soap wafts off him, barely covering his musky scent. Come on in. I move out of the way, and the man begins to unbutton his coat as he passes the threshold. Would you like something to drink?
No thank you, ma'am.
He says, lifting a palm. A moment later he glances toward the family room, eyes landing on Wren.
Jesus.
Before I have a chance to process what's going on, our quiet Wren begins to scream, her legs scrambling as she climbs up the back of the sofa, trying to get as far away from him as possible. Don't let him take me! Wren drops her book, and I run to her side, taking her hand. What's wrong? I ask, wrapping my arms around her and pulling her down to a seat cushion. That's him, the man who broke into our cabin and said he was going to take us. Here, come with me, I say, guiding her to the next room. When I rub my palm against her back, I swear I can almost feel the erratic thumping of her little heart. He's an FBI contractor, a tracker. He was hired to find Evie, Wren. Did he hurt you? Did he touch you in some way? She exhales, brows meeting. No, he just said he was going to take us, and he kept asking about Mama. I can imagine how traumatic that experience was for you, and I don't agree with his tactics, but I promise you, Wren, I won't let him near you. Her eyes study mine, perhaps searching for the truth, and a moment later she nods. Why don't you go upstairs for a bit, I propose. I'll call for you when he's gone. I watch her leave before heading back to the other room. I take a seat across from Chuck, crossing my legs. So, what do you have for us? His brawny physique fills the entirety of our leather club chair, and he pitches himself forward, like he's unable to get comfortable. Clearing his throat, he says,
I'm sure Beth told you I located the cabin.
Brant nods.
Yes, this morning. I was able to determine it was, in fact, the cabin of the woman I was looking for, but I couldn't determine if your daughter was a part of that circus because the woman and the youngest girl were gone. The two older girls who were there thought I was going to kill them, so they wouldn't tell me a damn thing.
His tone turns salty, and he pauses.
A few days in, they drugged me and snuck out of the cabin with my bag. Took me a bit longer to get back to town thanks to some bad meat I was forced to eat since they stole my MREs. Sidelined me for a few days out there, and on top of that, it was a little hard without, my bailout bag. Tarpaulins, compass, water purification tabs, canteen, flint, they grabbed it all, then ran, left me for dead.
He almost laughs like he's impressed, and then stops himself. You terrified them, I say. Can you blame them for running away?
I have that effect on people. Anyway, I never would have hurt them. Was actually planning on taking them to town with me. They were gonna die out there all alone. Barely any food, winter setting in. So back to this, the only thing of interest I was able to find in the cabin were a couple of death certificates. Ray Sharp and Imogen Sharp. Both passed away about 20 years ago.
I'm sorry, I stop him. How did you know to look for Maggie Sharp in the first place?
Beth assigned me here to scope the place out after Brant got that first letter. Spent some time in your little town, talked to a lot of locals, asked about any recluses or any people to watch out for,
He says.
One person mentioned the name Maggie Sharp, said she was a local second-grade teacher who lost her husband and daughter in some hit-and-run accident when they were walking home from the park. Guess she went crazy after that. Was never the same. Said she was a recluse, and then after a while, no one ever saw her again.
Maggie Sharp. Brent says her name softly. Never heard of her. Maggie Sharp. The mental picture I had of the kind of woman she was distorts and softens, and I find it harder to picture a crazed, ill-intentioned woman and easier to picture a distraught, heartbroken mother who couldn't save her child. But maybe she saw me and saw her second chance to save a child from what she perceived as harm. I imagine two mothers, both traumatized, both thinking they were doing the right thing at the time, and my heart aches for both of us.
Anyway, a few weeks ago, I was at some little shop on your square and I spot this guy buying a few random items. Toothpaste, a comb, you know. The cashier asked if he wanted his usual order, said it was ready to go, and pointed to a stack with some floral print fabrics, crayons, stuff that clearly wasn't for him. He told her he wouldn't be needing those anymore and got the hell out of there. After that, I followed him home, set up some surveillance, monitored all the comings and goings, but it was only ever him. Guy was unquestionably a bachelor.
Chuck's eyes lit, and he leans forward.
Anyway, it wasn't long after that I watched him carrying a box of these little soaps tied in purple twine inside the supermarket. Guess he sold them there or something. Took a closer look at it and saw how pretty it was. There was no way that guy was making and selling artisanal goat milk soaps. So right then and there I knew he was working with someone and…
Hold on. Brant cocks his head at me. Davis. The soaps, lavender-scented, goat's milk, tied in lilac-colored string. His brother claimed to be selling them for a friend of his, and Brant would always buy a bar here or there out of sheer kindness and to support what he believed were local artisans. I gasp, Your brother? That son of a bitch. Brant stands, the indentation beneath his cheekbone pulsing. When his eyes snap onto mine, he tries to speak, but nothing comes out. He's in shock. I'm not surprised. Davis was always jealous of our financial situation, always asking for loans and handouts, always making snide comments, always making Brant feel as though his success was undeserved. Dumb luck. It wouldn't be far-fetched to imagine Davis exploiting an opportunity to inflict pain on his brother.
Yes, your brother.
Chuck sniffs as he laughs, rubbing his scarred chin.
Anyway, your words, not mine.
I don't understand. How did you know to go into the forest? I ask.
I'm getting there.
Chuck says, pointing a meaty finger.
All the times I'd searched his property, it was when he was at work, so it was always in the dark. One morning he came home stumbling drunk around 9 in the morning, probably stopped off at the bar on his way home. Gave him 20 minutes to pass out and decided to take my chances, and good thing I did. Found a little clearing just behind his trailer. Plain as day, I saw a worn path, almost like something with wheels was using it because the ruts were small but deep in parts. Sure as hell wasn't shoes that did that. So then I got to thinking about the soaps he was selling. Followed the path, saw it went deeper and deeper.
I've heard enough, for now. How do we get Hannah? So what are you saying? That Davis has some part in this? Brant asks Chuck. Why wouldn't Beth have said something?
You'll have to talk to her about that.
Chuck says.
But more than likely, I imagine she was working to make sure the two of you weren't in cahoots in any way. Didn't want you tipping 'em off.
My husband begins to protest. I know him, and Chuck's comment has offended him to his core, but I place my hand on his arm in hopes to keep him from saying something he'll regret. "We have to go," Brent says as he stands and pats his pockets for his keys. "Now." "No." I grab his arm. "We have to call Deputy May." Davis has guns, and zero qualms about using them. His entire acreage on the outskirts of town is littered with no trespassing signs. "Your brother is insane," I remind him. "You're not going out there without the police." Rushing to the kitchen, I grab the slip of paper with Deputy May's personal cell number and yank my phone off the charger. Before I have a chance to dial her number, Chuck appears behind me.
"If you're calling the police, I'm pretty sure they're already there,"
he says.
"Beth was on her way last I talked to her."
Everything's happening so fast, and yet it's not happening fast enough. End of chapter 44.